All right, back to working on the VW. Uh, so the entire dash is removed, and looking at the wiring now. So here is the plug that connects the engine harness to the ECU and all the wiring. This is all now bare copper that goes to the ECU. To control it, it sits on the back of the, not steering column, but like the steering column mount. It's a big cast piece that sits right here. So that's all taken out. And yeah, that's where the fire started, which is surprising because, you know, I'm welding to the outside, but somehow this catches fire. So there must have been some kind of cable connecting both of them and transferred the heat. I don't know. So anyways, this is what caught fire and started the whole thing, was this plug adapter. So we have two different approaches. Obviously there's very bad damage to all of the wiring. I can get rid of this plug and hardwire via the pinout and the color diagram between the engine harness and the ECU and pray that it's right, since, you know, who knows. And I can get a new gauge cluster because that one's foobarred, and maybe that works. Or I can just go to a standalone. So I think I'm going to go to a standalone, and I'll figure out the wiring harness for the engine bay and do that. So anyways, let me just clean this up and talk to you guys about next steps. All right, nice big pile of junk, and I'm also talking about the car. All the wiring's removed. I have the original connectors just floating off the engine for all the sensors. I don't know if I'm gonna buy a new engine harness. I might, TBD. I am gonna go with the Haltech Elite 1500 as the ECU, just because there aren't very many videos out there on the Dodge Neons, and there's a guy that has a plug and play kit that I can get. So I'll get the Dodge Neon plug and play kit with the Haltech 1500. It should be relatively easy, and then I'll add all my own gauges and stuff. So I'm happy with that. A couple of more things. Since the entire wiring is stripped, I'll be using one of my spare painless harnesses and using that for all the accessories. And then I'll have the Haltech ECU actually control it. So while we're here though, it's quite funny. If you zoom in, so that's where we were welding on the fender. None of that sound deadening is burned. So I don't know what started the fire. I mean, it started after I was welding. So obviously there was a wire probably that was touching the panel, and then the wire, you know, transferred all that heat to the plastic connector, and that's what caused the fire. So, I mean, still my fault, obviously, but I thought it was a sound deadening and it was just like napalm in there, but nope, just a wire touching the metal. So not the end of the world, but now that we have all the wiring completely out, the dashboard's completely gone. I am able to relocate the steering wheel to fit me better, so it's not offset to the side. So that's a plus. And then I'll go buy or make a custom gauge panel for it. So not bad, all things considered. Got all the tools to make it run, and it's just a swipe of the credit card to get the new ECU. So project's not dead. Happy with that. Let's start installing the rest of these parts, and hopefully by the time the new ECU and things get here, it's running and driving again. So all we did was catch it on fire and add about 2 months to the build timeline. Not the end of the world. All right, one of the benefits of burning the car down is since we took out the entire dash, we get to mount the steering column where we want it. So now, as you can see from about the middle of the car here, we can angle that steering wheel towards the bench seat, which you know, is obviously small. So we can actually push the steering angle inwards to where you're sitting a little more comfortably, so it's not like left-hand dominant. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. OEM, this was bolted in 2 places. There is a lower one near the steering U-joint and then an upper one. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna mount the lower one first, and then we'll mount the upper one with a tube, I think. So make it pretty. All right, first thing on the list is mounting the steering column, since we have the floating mount. Here are 2 adjustable brackets, which I'll sand down to get rid of the dross on real quick. But where these brackets will live, if I can make room in my shop, where these brackets will live is right here. So I've already cut an initial bracket to hold the lower mount, SRT4 obviously, because why not? If I'm gonna cut it out, might as well cut out a design. And these brackets will go right here, and then I'll make a bend right about here that bolts them to the poly bushings. That way it's still full poly bushinged. And that's what we're gonna do. So let's sand these off, bend them, and get them bolted in. All right, we've got them sanded, just put them in the Laguna metal sander. So it's just gonna be painted with Rust-Oleum, so I'm not super worried about the finish, but that's how it bends. Here's a straight one. And bada bing, bada boom, boom, boom. Wow, look at that. Perfect bends, almost. Let's weld these in. Yeah, before you say anything, I know I bent this one a little bit lower and this one a little bit higher. Oops. It'll be all right. We'll just weld them differently. Good enough to get it running, something like that. You know, don't get it right, don't get it right, get it running, whatever David says. So let's weld these in, get the steering column mounted, take that off the list. All right, so we've got it mounted in place with the complete lower mount right there. As you can see, that's how the bends turned out. And you can see the adjustability that I want it to get the angles in place. So we're maxed out on the far driver side, and then passenger side we're pulled a little closer to get that angle pointed towards the driver. It's still not as solid as I want, so I am going to end up running a tube to this front bar, to the A-pillar bar. So let's do that next. All right, just like that, we're done. We've got the top bar welded in. It's just welded in straight. Maybe I should have triangulated it, but it doesn't really matter. Not for this car. Yeah, here's how everything looks from all angles. Got the SRT4 plate adjustability, and then we still kept the manual adjustment. So you can lock it up and down with the springs. So I'm happy with that. Everything's in place. It's pointed more at the driver, and let me just go ahead and show you where it's pointed exactly. The tube and the steering is pointed right at the driver, so it's better overall. I mean, we're improving things, right? So you break something, you improve it. That's kind of the goal. So we're improving things. That's in place. I'll give it a nice coat of orange here in a second when it cools off. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, another day working on SRT4 Dodge Neon. We've got wiring today. This is gonna be a pain. Yeah, I've never installed one of these kits. A lot of reading, so let me get situated with this. Maybe get some things mounted and walk you through the Haltech ECU for the, Dodge Neon that caught on fire. Good times. All right, so we're gonna, wire and spend the whole day wiring. That being said, we're gonna wire in that external VCU after we get some of the just regular systems wired. So I was gonna run a painless harness in this car for like lights and stuff, but I went and splurged and I got the solid state version of that Haltech. So I should be able to control everything via the solid state and the CAN boards on the Haltech ECU, but I still need to get like ignition and some basic stuff wired in. So, or like the key and the column and whatnot. So we're kind of like TBD on what really needs to be ran off the Haltech and what doesn't. Obviously this VW is absolutely gutted, and it'll stay gutted. I probably won't even put the windows in. So all that being said, I've got quite a bit of planning to do in order to get this to run. So yeah, this is just a day in my life, I guess, of me not knowing what I'm doing, making weird cars so I can daily drive junk to a job where everybody drives nice cars. So I don't know, is what it is. I'll let you guys know when I start doing something significant. All right, we're gonna run the starter cables first. Those gotta get done anyways. And anyone who knows me knows how much I use this vise and beat the shit out of it for everything. It's kind of loose in place, but it gets the job done. So this is just a 0 gauge wire kit from Amazon. It's way overkill for this, but it'll work. So we're gonna go ahead and crimp, heat shield these lugs, and then run it from our battery in the back to the starter. And as you can see, I've got a ground safety switch already too. And the rubber fuel cell is grounded. So I don't know. we're not building it to spec or anything. We're just kind of following general practices. So let's get the main wires, go ahead and get those all wired up, and we'll save the hardcore stuff for after we get the basics. All right, so we got everything wired up, and as you can see, we've got a positive light, and then battery disconnect off, light comes off. So that's the master power kill from the back. We're gonna put one in the dashboard too, but that one will just be for all accessories and everything. So 2 different forms of master kill. Should be good enough. Happy with that. Wiring is just gonna sit outside the carpet until I get absolutely done, and then we'll package it all together and call it a day. And for the record, 0 gauge going into like 6 gauge is super fun and safe, but we're not gonna say anything about that. All right, what's next? All right, I know this is a total mess. I've got paint set up, about to go off. I've got wiring doing. I'm just gonna show you guys real quick. These are Speedway headlight buckets with aftermarket Chinese turbo looking headlights instead of the regular ones. That way we have high beams. And I went ahead and wired a 4-prong into it. So, whoa, geez there, hold on, man. I got the blue wire cut. That's the high beam wire. So we're not gonna be running high beam. It's just an on-off switch because this is a gutted Volkswagen front wheel drive that might not even drive straight. So not too worried about it. So 4 wires, and frankly, only 4 wires fit through the down tube and the bolt. So we're gonna run these 4 wires, extend them out, match it like that one, and go get these headlights installed. All right, so here's how the headlights turned out. Nothing too special. We mounted them with their lower bolts just through the bottom of it. They're not gonna be perfectly centered, nor do I care. So got those installed. Wiring is labeled as such. So we'll have the wiring. We also put the taillights in the back. I guess I'll just show you them. So I've got the lights all hung for legality. We're gonna have one more brake light in the back as well. Just because I'm worried those aren't gonna be bright enough, but we'll have one more big LED brake light in the back. So that'll be good. Let's make sure all the accessory systems work. All right, next step, probably the last thing we're gonna see in this video, is making the switch panel for the overall controls. I went ahead and designed and CNC cut out this. This is the first prototype. Obviously the S and SRT is messed up, but all the functioning holes and stuff for the switches all work. So cut a little 1.75" notch for the roll cage, gonna weld up the sides. It'll look pretty when it's done. The real one will get sanded, so there won't be any dross or anything, but it really is just gonna go right there, you know, right in the middle, just like that. So let me fix these mistakes, and we'll go cut out another one, sand it down, and get ready to install it. All right, same old bins that I always do with the old vise and the plasma cutter to get the bins to start easier. Bada bing, bada boom. We will weld up those corners. Wow. We will weld up those corners just like we will weld up everything else. And that's how she'll sit in place. So let's weld the corners, get ready to weld this in. We're gonna weld it into the car and then paint it. And then I guess figure out the switches afterwards. It'll be fine. All right, here's how the switch panel turned out with the welds. Maybe it was going a little bit fast, but whatever. I don't care. This car's a piece of junk. That's how the way the switch panel will work. And if I show you from the back over here, you'll notice it's not centered with the center of the cab. It's actually centered with the gap between where the wheel is and the right side of the A-pillar. So it will look symmetrical when the wheel's installed. So gonna let that cool down, hit it with the same orange paint, and get back to wiring. All right, I realize the video is getting a bit long and it's gonna be pretty monotonous after this point, but here's how the switch panel looks. If I can get the glare out of the way. Turn signals, because I don't wanna run a stock on the wheel. Lights just on and off. Running lights will always be on with accessory power. Battery, this is the safety cutoff. Then we have 3 locked switches. These will be fan and fuel pump. start, full ignition switch, 5-key position or whatever. This will be the wide open throttle box and a USB charger. So all the essentials, the rest of the actual racing tune and everything else we ran on the Haltech. So buttons on the VCU dash. So that's all we need here. Happy with it. In any case, we've just got a lot of really boring, plain and simple wiring. So I'm gonna knock this out, and then next video, the car will be running and we'll have the Haltech ECU installed and tuned. So I'm just gonna knock out the basic stuff. It's no big deal. Just gonna run some cable and make sure it's all good. See you guys next time.